So I got a really cool pair of vintage jeans. They're from my mom's. They were hers from the 70s, but they ripped and now you can see my butt through the hole. Let me show you what I mean. I'm definitely not going out in public like this. Not happening. We need to fix this. Sorry you had to see that, but for real, we are not wearing those out in public, and you just had to see how horrific that hole is and where it's at. So we're gonna fix this hole with visible mending. And you might be wondering, what is visible mending? Visible mending is mending that you see on the outside of the garment. It also enhances the garment and gives it some more character. Today I'm going to be using a really fun polka dot fabric that you're gonna see a little bit of. And then we're going to use some decorative stitches on the sewing machine that look like hand stitches. So you don't have to hand stitch it all. You can use the sewing machine too. The first thing we need to do is measure the hole that we are going to fix. So we're going to measure the hole that's here, and it's about 4 by 1.5. So we want to add a couple inches to that all around. So we'll make it 6 by 3.5. We're going to add these extra inches so that way we basically have a seam allowance around the hole that we're going to be patching up. And because we're not just patching this little miniature area, we need to patch outside of it as well, so that way it doesn't rip any further. So I'm going to be using a plain cotton, and I'm going to be cutting it 6 by 3.5 for my particular hole. I'm also going to reinforce it with some fusible interfacing. You don't have to use the interfacing, but it's going to make it extra durable when you're putting all of those heavy stitches in the fabric. Now that we have these cut out, I'm going to fuse the interfacing to the back of the fabric. Now that my fabric is nice and reinforced, it's time to place it on the inside of the pants with it face up, and we're gonna pin it down so that way it doesn't move when we're doing our beautiful stitches. And if you wanna learn more about interfacing, make sure you check out my video on that. So now I'm going to place the fabric on the inside of the pants, making sure the print is face up so that way you can kind of see it through the hole just a little bit. The gap wasn't super huge, but big enough to cover it. And we're going to pin it. So just put your pins in and out so that way we can keep that piece of fabric in place underneath, and just pin all the way around the opening that you're going to be securing with additional stitches. There we go. So I have my hole nice and pinned up with the fabric under it, and now it's time to go over to the sewing machine and do some decorative stitching. So you can totally do this with just a zigzag stitch. Obviously, I've got zigzag stitches on here from before when I was mending, but I'm gonna have a little fun with it today, and I'm going to be using some decorative stitches with some pink thread. So if you're not using decorative stitches, you're gonna use a zigzag stitch wherever I'm doing decorative stitches. So if you're using a traditional zigzag stitch, it's going to look like that. A lot of machines also have some stitches set up for mending. So here are some mending stitch options inside of this machine right here. Also recommending the broken zigzag. I'm going to use something a little bit more decorative for mine. So I'm thinking about using this X-shaped design, and then I'm also thinking about using this really funky design, which is all over, like almost looks like a free motion design. So I'm gonna be starting with this stitch here, but definitely, go through the stitches in your machine and try them out and see which ones you like, because they might not look exactly like they do in these little pictures. Sometimes you'd be surprised when you select them and how they end up stitching out. So I'm using 2 different stitches. That first stitch, I'm going to stitch around the pocket, and then I'm gonna go back with that other stitch and stitch right on the very edge of the frame. Make sure you take out your pins before you get to them. Make sure you don't get pieces of the jean caught in the stitch. So if you need to, lift up your foot, push it out of the way. So I've made it all the way up to the center back seam. I'm going to back stitch and cut. And now I'm going to do another row of stitches just right above it, and check out how that's looking. It's super fun. Now I'm going to do below the opening. And I'm going to do one more row of stitches below this one. So now I'm done with this stitch. I think the area is nice and reinforced, and it's got that fun pink stitching on the top of my denim. Now I'm going to switch over to the other stitch and stitch closer to the opening here. I just want to mix it up and have some fun. Now I'm going to do the other side of my hole, so up at the top. You can see how fun that looks. Really love that stitch in there. Now it's time to assess your design and decide if you want to add more stitching. To extra reinforce it, you could always do horizontal lines of stitching too, creating a grid with your stitches. I think my design's pretty good, so I'm gonna wear it and test it out. So you can see all of those beautiful stitches that we've put in to reinforce the area, and you can see a little pop of that pink polka dot fabric. Let's try them on and see what an improvement we have made, because I know it's gonna be a huge improvement. My pants are now wearable. This is fantastic, and they look extra fun too. My pants are fanny-tastic. Wasn't that fun? We got to fix up that hole today with using some visible mending. I can really see how this could be so fun in so many different ways on different projects. Imagine using metallic thread or rainbow colored thread or all different types of cool threads and fabrics on the outside of your clothes. Visible mending's great because it extends the longevity of your clothing and it's not gonna end up in the landfill. Thanks so much for watching Sewing Anastasia today on some visible mending. If you have any questions about it, leave it down below. And I would love to know what you thought about the video, and if you have any tips or favorite things you like to do when you are visible mending, leave it down below because everybody else would love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, give it some applause, and make sure you subscribe to Sewing Anastasia and hit the notification bell so you know when the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching today. These videos are for you! And don't forget to add me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all the social media, so that way we can stay connected and creative together. And if you don't know, I teach sewing classes in my design studio here in Chicago, Illinois. I also teach an upcycling tailoring class, which we do a lot of things like this in it. And if you're not in Chicago, no worries. We have an online sewing academy coming later this spring, so keep a lookout for it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.